Hey guys, how you doing? Today's tutorial, we want to show you a different interesting technique using vocoder on a return track um, as a noise generator. And by doing that, you basically allow all different types of any tracks to be sent to it, and the vocoder creates a noise that could sing along with your tracks. You could use it in a percussive way or in an ambient way. Uh, so we're going to be working on a effect chain, but the main part is the vocoder. So here I got a rolling tom track, just as a bunch of toms synthesize with operator and it's low cuts. And as you can see over here, here's how it sounds like. Yep, it's just a bunch of tom. And I got a kick too, so the toms are sidechained to the kick. It's a nice little groove here, but of course I don't have a lot of noise sounds. I need to fill the spectrum, and I'm looking for something that complements the groove. Let's say so. This vocoder could be a good idea, and at least could help me get inspired. So I'm gonna start with an empty return track here, and I'll solo the empty track for you guys. I'll send the toms to the return track, then I solo it. So since there's no effects on it, you just hear it now. I'm gonna start building the return track. I start with a compressor on that channel. This helps a lot with managing the transients. Make sure there's no sudden jumps. It kind of like processes and smooths the sent signal to it, which is very important. It's usually good practice. I do push the compressor a little too hard here, just so you guys can see the difference. Mhm. Now, let's go get a saturator. Saturator here helps, add a little bit more color to this return track, and makes it sound a little different again from the original, which is interesting to the ears. Again, another good practice on a return track. I do that a lot of times before a reverb or a delay. Now to the main part, the vocoder. By default, when I drag it, it comes with a carrier selected as noise, and I enhanced it. So what this does is basically uh, the noise basically follows the envelope of whatever you send to it. Since it's set up on a return track, it gives us a lot of flexibility. Let's see what it sounds like. It probably sounds good right off the bat. Yep. See a little noise. It's a little too dark. I like it a little brighter. I'm gonna play with the settings. Feel free to experiment. Return, of course. Add a little depth. Play with all the filter types and get the color you like. So you get the idea. Still it's a nice element added, but still kind of boring. Now it's a little better and kind of high, but still very boring. I need to add some dynamics to this. As you can see, yep. I'll do that using. So I'll start with an auto filter here, and I'm gonna set it to band pass, just because I don't want all the lows. I want to make that interesting. I want anything basic, probably about 500 hertz or 1,000 up, and all the way to maybe 2,500. Add a resonance, add a little bit of drive, sounding better. But I want to make sure I turn on the LFO so the bandpass moves. That's gonna modulate the frequency of the bandpass with a low rate. It's usually what I like. It's nice and subtle. I'm gonna add even more movement to it by adding a flanger. The flanger helps here. You see that? A little bit more movement to it. The LFO is by default on. I just slow the rate a little bit and make it about 50-60%. I'll move on to the. I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna pull a yeah reverb here just because the sound and the return time was a little bit in your face. So I'm gonna push it to the back. The subtle reverb setting would do because this is not meant to be a reverb return track. It's just more about the vocal there, but The reverb will help push it back. Also, before I do the reverb, let's check my simple delay here. I put this delay early on to add some groove and just different variation than the original. I'm going to show you some extreme setups. Yeah, so I'm gonna. You could, I guess, you could do that also with a filter delay, but yeah, I guess simple delay is good enough since we got an auto filter, stacked right after it. Play around with the settings, and I set repeat. Repeat does make sure it acts kind of like models tape delay with pitch shifting. Some extreme settings. Yeah, you get the idea. You can set it whatever. After that, I'm gonna go and turn on the reverb and try to set the reverb settings. It's too much. I want the reverb to be more subtle and in the back. Good with the decay. Change, adjust the EQing of the reverb. I like that. Don't want the lowest to get too much reverb. Some more adjustments with reverb, without reverb, and I'm gonna EQ. I usually EQ after reverb. This chain is going through an auto filter, so the lowest will be cut already, but I'll still emphasize that low cut. Also, I cut the highs a little bit, again, just to make sure. Now I can go and add a sidechain compressor and sidechain that to the kick to add a little bit of, groove and make sure it moves with the kick a little bit. You don't have to push this too hard because the toms are already slightly sidechained to the kick. And that's pretty much it. Adjust the volumes to your liking. Now let's hear the whole thing for a second. I'm gonna make sure I set what I like, and yeah, on solo. Let's hear it, and I'm gonna just show you the dry track. Same. Go play around. There you got it, guys. It's a nice little groove that's singing along with my toms. Please make sure to check our videos and our blog, and be sure to come back. We'll have more cool tips.